You have questions?
What is slashing?
We have answers.
Slashing is like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. And there's a penalty for that?
Yeah. You do that, you go to the box, 2 minutes by yourself, and you feel shame, and then you get free.
This is CBJ in 30.
Anything you folks want to know about the fascinating world of pro hockey? Here we go.
Tweet your questions by using the hashtag CBJIN30.
We'd like to remind you folks, keep your questions within the boundaries of good taste.
Here's your host, Bob McGilligan.
And welcome to another edition of CBJ in 30. It's a game day edition today here at Nationwide Arena as the Blue Jackets get set to take on the Washington Capitals tonight on this third day of March 2015. Again, time just keeps flying. They say time flies when you're having fun. Well, the games haven't been as fun as the Blue Jackets would like them to lately, but time is still flying, no doubt about that. And today is a day of calmness for many around the National Hockey League, because today is when everyone knows what their fate is till the end of the season or the end of the playoffs. Depends where you are and who you're playing for. Yesterday was trade deadline day in the NHL. And man, what a fun day it turned out to be honest with you. I mean, fun for me. Jody Shelley and I did a special show for you yesterday afternoon. It was fun. There were a lot of moving parts. There were things going on. It was just enjoyable to kind of be in the heat of the moment. And the Blue Jackets did make moves yesterday. They made 3 different moves. 2 of them, well, I was going to say two subtractions. Yeah, I can say this. 2 subtractions, 1 addition, and 1 stays the same. But the one that stayed the same was pretty big in its own right. All right, let's go through them. First of all, the Blue Jackets started by sending veteran defenseman Jordan Leopold to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick this year and for defenseman Justin Falk. Now, let's break down that trade again very quickly here. I thought this was a great move for the Blue Jackets. Jordan Leopold was not playing. He's from Minnesota. He's been separated from his family since November, and it's viral now, the letter that his daughter wrote to the Minnesota Wild coaches asking them, begging them to trade for her father so that he could come home and be with the family. And he got that wish. She got her wish. And the letter wasn't even brought into it until after the process was already ongoing. But the Blue Jackets, I thought they did a great job in this trade for a couple of different reasons. Number one, they traded a 5th-round pick to St. Louis in order to get Jordan Leopold. They get that 5th-round pick back. Then they get Justin Falk, so that gives them a body, and they need one right now because there are only 6 healthy defensemen. And on the other side of it, Jordan Leopold was such a true professional for this team in the time that he was here. He never caused a stink. He never complained about his role. He went for 2 months without playing a game. Never said a word. Never was a distraction. Nothing. That is a true professional. And it's only right that the Blue Jackets sent him to the one place that would really please him and his family. So that's an all-around great story. But again, from the trade perspective, the Blue Jackets got what they gave up to get him, and then they got a body who will go into the lineup tonight on the blue line. That is Justin Falk. The second order of business on the day, Cam Atkinson had been rumored to be going all over the place. Boston, New York, who else? Chicago. There seemed like a different team every day. People were rumoring him to be going to Montreal. That came up yesterday. So he went nowhere. He's right here, and he signed a 3-year contract extension. He was going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. He stayed. He wanted to stay. That's the key. To me, that's the big key. Right now, with what you're building, if you have players that want to stay, and they're good players, and they're going to add to your group, and they're going to bring something, you want to keep them. That's the bottom line. Why would you send out a guy that wants to be here and has something to offer? And I think that's the way the Blue Jackets approached it. They see his upside. They've seen him play very well. They've seen him play very badly because he's been here long enough to go across the entire spectrum. They liked him. They wanted to keep him. They got the job done. Signed a 3-year extension. That was great. And then the late deal, which was a bit of a shocker, James Wisniewski sent to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Rene Bourque, William Karlsson, and a 2nd-round pick this year. James Wisniewski and a 3rd-round pick went for those two guys and a second-round pick. Those two are going to go to Springfield and help the Springfield Falcons in the American Hockey League. But doesn't mean you're not going to see either or both of them between now and the end of the season. So it was a good day. I thought it was a good day all around for the Blue Jackets. They did what they felt they had to do. They freed up some money. They got a player signed. They sent a player out, sent him home to where he wanted to be, got something back. I thought it was a great day all around for the Blue Jackets, without question. And you couple that with the trade that they made last Friday. Was it Friday? Thursday. Last Thursday, when they got David Clarkson from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And they've only changed a couple of pieces, but there were changes that needed to be made. Changes to make this team better in the future. And now, starting today, it's just back to playing games and moving on. And that's the mindset that everybody is in. So, but again, it was a fun day yesterday. I wasn't sure how I was going to, enjoy that entire thing, but as it went down, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time. Bradley Kaplinger tweets me at Bobby Mac Sports using the hashtag CBJin30. Says, with very few trades made, it's good to see that the Blue Jackets management is starting to look content with their core group. Well, they are. And they haven't even seen that core group for the most part this year. And we've talked about that a million times plus this year. But they haven't seen enough of it. But they have a good idea of what it is. I mean, they know just from the last 2 years what's going on. And as Jody talked about during our show yesterday, in years like this, you find out more about your team. You find out about your team's character, work ethic, all the blemishes that may have been there the entire time that you didn't see when the team was winning. When everything's going well, when you're winning games, there are things that are wrong, but you're saying, we'll get through that. That's not as big of a deal as it seems to be. When you're losing, minute details become huge. So that's the difference. But yes, Bradley, this core group, and I'm talking Dubinsky, Foligno, Bobrovsky, Atkinson's in it. Hartnell's in it. He still has plenty of term left on his contract. I mean, these guys are here and they're set. So it is good to see that there didn't have to be a lot done yesterday. I think that's the best part. I mean, you're in a season where you went to the playoffs last year. This year, you're not in the playoffs. Mathematically, you still have a chance, but likely you're not in the playoffs. But yet, you didn't have to go and fire sale it like the Buffalo Sabres did, like the Arizona Coyotes did. Now, both of those teams are hoping for a bigger payoff, and that is Connor McDavid and or Jack Eichel. Not and, but one could wind up one could wind up two. Who knows? Somebody else could win the lottery, and one of those teams could get bumped out when it's all said and done. That's the thing you don't know. But they're trying to give themselves the best chance. They're trying to be there so that they can be one or two and get one of those two guys. And that was obvious. Very obvious. Arizona especially, shipping off Keith Yandel to the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers on paper got so much better. They did. They're going for it. There's no doubt. They feel that they can go for it in the East. The Montreal Canadiens, they're going for it. They made some deals to make themselves better. I think they see themselves having to beat the Rangers to get out of the Eastern Conference. Pittsburgh made some deals yesterday that were, to me, they were a little bit head-scratching. Two of their top young defensemen, Simone Dupre, Robert Bortuzzo, that they supposedly liked both of them. They shipped them both out yesterday. Brought back Ben Lovejoy from Anaheim. And Ian Cole was the other guy they got from the St. Louis Blues. So everybody did a little bit of something. A little bit of something. Whatever they thought they needed. But now that's done, and that's over, and it's move on and go back to playing games. And tonight, it's the Washington Capitals here at Nationwide Arena. 2 of the first 3 games have been decided by 1 goal. The Blue Jackets won the last matchup back on January 27th. They've got their work cut out for them tonight. There's no doubt about that. Anytime you play against a guy like Alex Ovechkin, who comes into this game tonight with 65 points 41 goals, leading the league there. It's not easy to play against him. You know he's going to shoot. You know he's going to get his chances. He'll create chances. He'll shoot it through people if that's what it takes. That's what he does, and he does it really well. Nicholas Backstrom, his line mate, probably gets overlooked because of the number of goals Ovechkin scores. But if you look at Backstrom's numbers, he's got almost the opposite of Alex. He's got 18 goals, but he's got 47 assists. He's a disher. He's setting it up, and Ovechkin's finishing. So those two guys automatically become the focal point whenever you play against the Washington Capitals. No question about that. Now, they did make some deals. They didn't do it yesterday. They did it a few days before. They brought in Curtis Glencross, former Blue Jacket from Calgary. Curtis Glencross, just a good, hard-nosed player. He wasn't here long enough to see what you saw in Calgary the last couple of years. Hard-nosed player. He's tough to play against, tough to get the puck from, and he's been a 20-goal scorer in his career. So they bring him in to supplement and try to get a little bit more offense, get a little bit more grit for the playoffs. They also sent out defenseman Jack Hillen to the Carolina Hurricanes, and they brought in defenseman Tim Gleason. And again, same thing. They've got some ruggedness on the back end. Brooks Orpik is Mr. Rugged back there. He logs a lot of minutes. He's gritty. I think he's playing better than a lot of us thought he would when he left Pittsburgh after being there for his entire career. But Brooks Orpik, he just knows how to play. And he's a good playoff defender. I don't think there's any questioning that on his part. So they've got a good back end. They bring in some guys to supplement, and they're tough. And I'll tell you another reason they're tough is the same reason that it was tough to play against the New Jersey Devils. It was tough to play against the Pittsburgh Penguins. It was tough to play against the Montreal Canadiens. The guys in the crease. Braden Holtby has been great this year. His goals against average is 2.16, and this is over the course of 55 appearances. You know, this isn't a 10-game stint with the nice goals against. This is a record of 30, 15, and 9 for Braden Holtby. And a comeback season for him. Because he was supposed to be the next coming of goaltending in Washington. And then he hit a setback. And he was going back down to Hershey, trying to get his game together. He has really excelled under his new goaltending coach, Mitch Korn, who came over from the Nashville Predators with Barry Trotz when he got the head coaching job. So Braden Holtby's a different guy. He is now the guy they thought that he would be. Last year, he was not the guy they thought that he would be. And Ole Kolzik was the goaltending coach there, and I guess it just didn't mesh. It just didn't match, whatever. But Braden Holtby's back to being the guy that they want him to be. And I'm sure that part of that is also because of Barry Trotz in the system that he plays. He's very defensive-minded. He makes sure his team plays a two-way game as a whole. And if they're playing and concentrating on playing team defense, that always makes it easier on the goaltender. There's not even a question about that. So when you put all that stuff together, it's worked out well for the Washington Capitals all around. I was going to say something else about Washington. Now I can't think what it is. There's somebody else I was going to talk about here. Oh, Mike Green. That's it. Mike Green. Good defenseman, 36 points, 5 goals, 31 assists. He was rumored. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. There were a lot of rumors about him being moved. And he didn't go anywhere. So he's still there, and he will still be a force to be reckoned with on the back end for the Capitals tonight. For the Blue Jackets, Justin Falk, as I said, will go in the lineup. The biggest piece of news, Sergei Bobrovsky comes back to play tonight for the Blue Jackets. He'll be making his 34th appearance of the year. He's just missed weeks. He went out just before the All-Star game with a groin injury, and it's taken him that long to get back to his starting role. He's backed up the last couple of games, but he's ready to get back in there and start tonight. The Blue Jackets need him. They need to see him play. They need to have their number one guy back there. Curtis McElhaney has been outstanding. He's been great. He's been terrific. I can come up with plenty of adjectives to describe Curtis McElhaney's play, but Sergei Bobrovsky is the number one guy. It'll be great to see him back in there tonight. No doubt about that. So it should be a good one here tonight. I really think it should be. And Blue Jackets are playing at home. They've just been sputtering and scoring goals has been a problem. The other day they got 3 in Pittsburgh, but Nick Foligno adds that one late to make it look a little bit better than it was, losing 5-3. They were down 5-1. Ryan Johansson scores a shorthanded goal, and then Foligno scores that third goal right near the end of regulation. So it made it look nice on the scoreboard, but quite frankly, it was a lopsided game. So the Blue Jackets have now lost 6 games in a row. They did get 1 point out of those 6 with the overtime loss in New York against the Rangers, but 6 in a row. For a team that was hoping to make a late push to get into the playoffs, they're going the wrong direction. They've got to stop the bleeding. They've got to turn it around. And they've got a Washington team that needs every point that they can get because they want to be in the top 3 in the Metropolitan Division. They want a guaranteed playoff spot. And they only get it by picking up as many points as possible. So if they take the Blue Jackets lightly tonight, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. When I talked with head coach Todd Richards this morning, he told me the first period is going to be key to this game because the scoring chances in the head-to-head matchups was something ridiculous. Don't quote me on these numbers, but it was like 36-9 in the first period. Washington with that many more scoring chances. Then it levels out in the second period, third period, and overtime. Then it's even. But that first period has been such a difference. And the Blue Jackets lately they've been chasing. Almost every team they've played, they've been chasing. Pittsburgh was an exception the other day. They got the early lead, but then they turned around and had one of those breakdowns and gave up a goal about a minute and a half after they had scored one. So they just can't afford to keep doing that. You're not going to win games if you continue to do that. They just can't do it. Here are the records for these teams when they score first coming into this one tonight. Washington is 29-1-4 when they score the first goal of the game. The Blue Jackets are 28-1. So that tells you the importance of getting the first goal. Now, if you get the first one, you don't get any more, that doesn't matter. I understand. But the records are considerably better for both teams when they get on the board first. So it could be the battle to see who gets on the board first here tonight. We shall see. Right now, I want to go back and see what more you have for me at Twitter. And my Twitter handle is at BobbyMacSports. CBJN30, CBJIN30 is the hashtag that you can use. Boone's Goons checks in and says, with Robert Bortuzzo out of Pittsburgh, who in the Penguins lineup will Boone Jenner crush into the boards now? Well, first of all, I think he would crush anybody into the boards. Second of all, Boone's got to get back into the lineup. And I talked to him this morning. He's feeling better. He was over there skating in the ice house today. So I don't know how far away he is, but, man, will it be great to get him back into the lineup before the end of the year? That would be tremendous. But he'll hit anybody. You guys know that. Doesn't matter. Bortuzzo doesn't need to be there. There's plenty of guys. Lovejoy now is back. He's kind of a gritty defenseman. They can hit him. Who else? Derek Pouliot. Take a run at him. He's a young kid back there. Hit Malkin, for crying out loud. Sometimes he gets mad and he takes over the game. Other times you take him right out of the game. Hit Crosby. Especially if Dubinsky's not around. Hit Crosby. It doesn't matter to Boone. He'll hit anybody. He'll use his physicality to his advantage each and every time. Colin McCoy. Why trade Wisniewski for 2 guys that immediately went to Springfield? Sure, he wasn't phenomenal on defense, but he scores. He does. He also had a pretty big cap hit. And you've cleared money for the future. For guys that you would like to re-sign, maybe for guys you would like to go out to get. Jarmo Kekalainen said in his press conference yesterday, we have to work on the depth of our defense this offseason, and we will. So, could go out and sign maybe a veteran defenseman with some of that money. It's just it's how it works out. Clear the cap space. You move the guy. You feel that's the best thing for you to do. You get 2 guys that are going to Springfield, yeah. Rene Bourque has been in the National Hockey League and very well could be again. William Karlsson is a good young prospect. And Jarmo knows his game pretty well. You're building for the future. I mean, Wisniewski, with the exception of the New York game, just making and maybe this isn't a good example, all right? But just looking at, well, I better look at it and make sure I'm totally on base, but with the exception of the New York game that he didn't play in because he was a healthy scratch. I told you the Blue Jackets have dropped 6 straight, and he had a goal in Pittsburgh the other day. I get it. But they lost the game. They still lost the game. So, to me, it's, he scores. He scores from the blue line. I get that. He's got a good shot. He's got a good, powerful shot, but David Savard's got a pretty good shot. And David Savard comes into tonight's game with 9 goals on the year. What did Wiz get the other day? His 8th or 9th? So, from that standpoint, maybe you can shore up your defense because somebody else is picking up the offense. And maybe it's somebody that you didn't think was going to be that offensive. And it's turned out that he is. Yeah, I'm just looking here that Wisniewski scored. In the 6 games, he scored the other day. They didn't win the game, but he didn't score in any of those other ones. So, and I'm not counting assists. I get that. And now he's going to be off the grid here, and he's not, no, I shouldn't say not. Hold on. I'll wait and see if he's, no, he's still in here. He's still in here. Yeah, in that span, he got 1 goal and 1 assist in the 6-game losing streak. So, it's, I understand there is an upside to him, for sure. But there obviously was some kind of a downside that they thought that they could improve overall by sending him the other way, sending him somewhere else and bringing something back. And I'm telling you, that money factors in somewhere. The money factors in somewhere. It always does in a salary cap league. Shannon Shoemaker. Who do you think Bull will fight next? Does he ever intimidate you? LOL. No, he doesn't intimidate me. He's a good guy. He could if he wanted to. It would only take one time of him being mad at me that would be intimidating. Maybe tonight. Maybe he takes on Tom Wilson tonight. Tom Wilson's a big boy. He's got 128 penalty minutes. He's been throwing his weight around in the league. Who knows? Maybe him. I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think it would be a good heavyweight battle, to be honest with you. Allie J, what trade surprised you, whether or not they're Blue Jackets trades? Well, I said the Pittsburgh trades surprised me a little bit. Dupre and Bortuzzo both going out. The Braden Coburn trade surprised me in this regard that Tampa gave up a first-round pick as part of that deal to get Braden Coburn from the Philadelphia Flyers. So I was a little bit surprised by that. How about Chris Stewart? You want to talk about a guy whose stock has fallen off the planet? I mean, initially the Buffalo Sabres were asking for a first-round pick and a prospect, I think, for this guy. And then the price gradually went down. What did they finally get from the Minnesota Wild? A second-round pick in 2016? Chris Stewart can be a very good player. Big body guy, powerful, tough. He can fight. In fact, didn't he fight this year? Did he fight somebody this year here? He's got a lot of upside, but he has just never reached his full potential, whether it was with Colorado, St. Louis, or Buffalo. Just hasn't reached that. He could be a dominating player, in my opinion, because of all the tools he has. Size, strength, great shot. But there's just been something about him the entire time he's been in the league. Just something. I don't know what that something is, but there's just something. But boy, did his stock really drop yesterday when they settled for a second-round pick next year. Not this year, next year. That was surprising to me that he fell kind of that far off the grid. Craig Levasseur. What pieces do the Blue Jackets need to acquire in the offseason to become a Stanley Cup contending team? What do they need to acquire? Probably, that blue line depth that I was talking about. And I wouldn't mind seeing another good veteran defenseman. Now, who would that be? I don't know. I think if Kimmo Timonen, and I think he is, if Kimmo Timonen's a free agent at the end of the year, I'd look at him. And before you say, well, he had blood clots, he didn't play all year, Chicago just traded for him, and what's he going to do? I think he carries that thing that the Blue Jackets need, and that's that veteran presence, a guy that can still play, as long as he can still play a lot of minutes. A veteran presence and a leader. Looking for leaders. Where do you find leaders? It's hard to find leaders. But they need some leaders. There's some good ones here. It can be better. And to have that, one of those voices, I think, would be good. So, and I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying he's going to be a guy that they're going to zero in on and target or whatever. I'm just saying that type of guy, I think if they could get one of those types of guys, if they could get two, it'd be great. They might have one in David Clarkson. They might. I don't know. He hasn't been here long enough yet. I know he's the nicest guy in the world. I know he has respect. We'll see. Maybe he can be one of those kind of guys. But two would be fantastic. One more. If you could get one and Clarkson turns out to be one, I think that would be great. I do. But, they still do need scoring. But is that scoring going to come from having Boone Jenner back in the lineup and having your full lineup? That's the real question. That's the real question. That's the only thing I've said all through the year. They know what they have. They know what they have individually. Do they know what they have as a group? They think they do, but they haven't seen them all together this year. And I honestly think when you talk about the scoring, I know it's been I'll look at it. Alexander Wenberg, this year, he has played in 52 games. He has 2 goals and 7 assists. That's not going to continue. His point totals are going to go up. He's too smart. He's too good for his point totals to be low like that. So some of that scoring, in my opinion, is going to come from him. But it'll be interesting. It's always interesting. They know they have what they want right now. Okay, they have what they want right now. But then when it's all over, and they watch what else goes on, and reassess, then they'll make the moves further. And then it'll be exciting again, to be honest with you. Whether that's trading before the draft, whether that's signing a free agent at the beginning of July, whatever it is. But again, don't forget this. No matter what happened yesterday, no matter what might happen at the draft, or what might happen in free agency, remember this. This is a team that didn't have to have a fire sale. This is a team that didn't have to go sell off a bunch of assets because they're rebuilding. They're tweaking, not twerking. That's different. They're tweaking because they need to tweak it, but they don't need to overhaul it. And that's the best part of it to me. Has this season been frustrating? Sure. Absolutely. Would you like to be sitting here right now saying, I can see this team playing until the middle of June? Absolutely. No doubt. But this is the reality of it. And this is where you find the true character of what you have, of your players, of your group, of your staff. You find out everything in seasons like this. After you've had success, and now you've taken a step back for whatever reason. That's where the character is judged. And if you have to tweak it, you tweak it. And then it moves ahead. I've said it before. I've said it a million times before. I'll say it a million times leading up to next season. Because it's my opinion. Next year, the Blue Jackets want to be this year's New York Islanders. A team that the Islanders last year didn't make the playoffs. They had injuries. They had issues. They went out. They added 2 guys before training camp, and Johnny Boychuk and Nick Leddy. 2 good defensemen. Helped them move the puck. Yaroslav Halak they got for their goaltending situation there. Look where they are now. And a healthy John Tavares. And somebody brought this up yesterday, and I'd forgotten all about this guy. Kyle Pozo is hurt, and he's been hurt for weeks. He's getting ready to come back. You talk about adding somebody like it was a trade acquisition. They're going to put one of their top players back into the lineup here in the next week or so, and Kyle Pozo. So if I'm the Blue Jackets, I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the New York Islanders, and I'm saying, doggone it, this is not what we wanted to have happen this year. This is not even close to the spot we wanted to be in, not even close to the way we wanted it to go down. But since it did, we want to be those guys next year. And they can be. They really can be. It's all here. Maybe not all of it, because I was talking about tweaking. But the bulk of it is, we've seen that the last 2 seasons. So the bulk of it is here. It's going to be about putting it all together. And you can only do that one day at a time. And it starts tonight. It starts over tonight. Post James Wisniewski. Post Jordan Leopold. With Justin Falk. It starts tonight here against the Washington Capitals. It continues on Friday in New Jersey. And then back here at home on Saturday against the Colorado Avalanche. It's still the only way to take it. One game at a time. Very simple. Real simple plan, isn't it? I mean, even I can figure it out. Tonight's game getting underway at 7 o'clock here at Nationwide Arena. Gates will open up at 6 o'clock tonight. I've got the game for you on the Blue Jackets Radio Network. Blue Jackets, Capitals, Alex Ovechkin, 41 goals. Sergei Bobrovsky back in net. Sounds like a great mix, doesn't it? Talk to you later on tonight.